If you shoot a bullet from a rifle at a distance of 20 meters, you expect the target to fall instantly. But this creature, weighing almost 300 kilograms, barely retreats a step, absorbs the bullet's entire kinetic energy with its natural biological armor, 5 centimeters thick, and then lunges directly at you at a speed of 50 kilometers per hour. It demolishes high-voltage electric fences, remembers every trap with surgical precision, and subjugates packs of hunting dogs even when they wear specialized Kevlar vests. It possesses the monstrous strength of an alpha predator and simultaneously reproduces at a frightening rate, 20 offspring per litter. The entire scientific community and armed forces have just officially acknowledged that they are completely powerless and cannot definitively stop this species. And the astonishing truth about who created this unprecedented ecological entity will be revealed right now. It all began with strange signals at dawn in rural areas bordering the rainforests. Farmers woke to find their 7-hectare cornfields completely destroyed overnight. The damage immediately exceeded 10% of the total production, but the method of destruction was utterly absurd. The intruder did not eat all the food. It took one bite at the base of the plant, flattened the ear at another, and then threw it to the ground. This was not typical feeding behavior for a wild animal trying to survive. It was a form of systematic annihilation. At first, farmers and local authorities believed herds of wild boars, native to South America such as peccaries or white-lipped peccaries, weakened by drought and lack of food, were responsible. Ranchers who lost sheep and guard dogs blamed jaguars for the nocturnal attacks. Conventional defenses were employed, fences were erected, cage traps were set, and the presence of hunting dogs was increased. But all efforts were in vain. Steel fences were found destroyed, traps remained empty, and the bravest hunting dogs were found dead with deep, precise cuts just above the femoral artery. The tracks left in the mud were 3 times larger than those of local wild boars. A giant shadow loomed over the forests, remaining completely invisible to human pursuit. The helplessness intensified when it became evident that this shadow was not confined to a few isolated farms. To date, over 800 towns across Brazil have reported the presence of this creature. It is marching from the pampas, traversing the Pantanal wetlands, and embedding its first claws into the outskirts of the Amazon jungle. When ecological experts and the Iragua armed forces intervened, the mysterious creature finally revealed its true nature. It was not a jaguar, not a native pig. It was the Jabaporco, one of the worst biological system errors created by the hand of man. To trace the origin of the Jabaporco, the research trail goes back to the year 1904 in Argentina, and then to Uruguay. South American elites of that era had the insane idea of importing purebred European wild boars for sport hunting and to provide exotic meat. In Europe, the wild boar is part of an equilibrium. Harsh winters with sub-zero temperatures and packs of hungry gray wolves were natural deterring factors that controlled their population. But upon its introduction to South America, the wild boar found paradise. There was no snow to freeze it, no wolf packs to tear it apart. Jaguars were too scarce, as humans had ruthlessly exterminated them. European wild boars began to multiply and cross borders, entering Brazil. As hunting farms went bankrupt and fences rusted, they were set completely free in the wild. And the real evolutionary catastrophe occurred when the European wild boars encountered herds of domestic pigs that peasants left free-ranging or that had escaped into the forest. In evolutionary biology, this phenomenon gives rise to what is known as hybrid vigor. The purebred wild boar possesses extraordinary musculature, a tank-like cranial structure, and a savage killer instinct, but reproduces very poorly, with only 3 to 5 offspring per litter. The domestic pig, however, is weaker, fattier, and more docile, but carries a genetic mutation that allows for explosive reproduction, up to 20 offspring per pregnancy. The crossbreeding of these 2 lines accidentally combined 2 extreme genetic codes. The result was the Jabaporco. It inherited the destructive power and savage survival instinct of the European wild boar, combined with the uncontrollable reproductive machine of the domestic pig. Nature was never prepared for such a creature. Suddenly, South America was facing a machine weighing hundreds of kilograms with an extremely short reproductive cycle, ready to tear apart anything in its path. But giant muscles are not what allow the Jabaporco to resist human weaponry. The real secret lies in its bodily structure and in a tactical brain far beyond the normal limits of the animal kingdom. In direct confrontations, hunters realized they were shooting at a moving wall. The Jabaporco does not accumulate soft fat like domestic pigs. Its body consists of dense muscle fibers, which grant it frightening acceleration, especially on its flanks and shoulder area. It has developed a kind of biological Kevlar. This defense is a combination of densely keratinized skin interwoven with scar tissue, a result of mating fights, a layer of solidified fat, and dry mud clinging to its body. The total thickness reaches 5 centimeters. When a bullet from a regular rifle strikes this armor, the kinetic energy is completely neutralized. The projectile only manages to penetrate the mud layer and get stuck in the hardened skin, failing to reach any internal organs. To overcome a Jabaporco, a hunter must resort to specially designed high-powered firearms or hit the tiny lethal points on its skull with absolute precision. A virtually impossible task when the target is charging forward at 50 kilometers per hour. Its offensive weaponry is also a masterpiece of evolution. The protruding tusks are not only long, but the jaw structure is such that with every chew or yawn, the upper and lower teeth constantly rub against each other. This mechanism acts as an automatic sharpener, keeping the tusk tips as sharp as a scalpel blade. With a height reaching an adult human's waist, a Jabaporco's strike aimed directly at the femoral artery can lead to death from blood loss in just a few minutes. But the true weapon of this beast lies in its social intelligence. The Jabaporco organizes its society under a matriarchal system. The largest male is not the leader. The oldest female rules, carrying a mental map of the entire territory within her brain. The matriarch knows exactly where the crops are, when the water sources will dry up during the month, and most terrifyingly, she possesses long-term memory of traps set by humans. It is enough for one offspring from a herd to be caught in a cage trap, and the dominant female will analyze the mechanism and teach the entire herd to avoid such constructs forever. They constantly alter their behavior. If hunters pursue them during the day, they shift all activity to midnight. If humans use corn as bait, they immediately exclude corn from their diet. Even the most seasoned hunters shudder, reporting that these hybrid herds know how to set ambushes, feign panic, and flee. They lure hunting dogs into narrow and swampy ravines. When the dogs lose momentum, they turn 180 degrees and counterattack to destroy them. Today, 100% of hunting dogs involved in pursuing Jabaporcos must wear Kevlar vests and GPS collars to avoid the risk of being torn apart. However, the war between hunters and the hybrid pigs is merely the surface of a much larger ecological war that is quietly suffocating the South American continent. Wherever the Jabaporco treads, the local ecosystem is immediately overturned and collapses. Its direct competitor is the native peccary. Though they share distant common ancestors, these two species are incapable of interbreeding. Instead of coexisting, the Jabaporco causes local extinction. With 4 times its size advantage and overwhelming numerical superiority, the Jabaporco seizes all food sources and drives native species towards starvation. Deep in the forest, the destruction occurs on a geological level. The Jabaporco has no sweat glands. It requires water bodies to cool its body. If it discovers fresh running water or a pristine underground spring, the hybrid herd invades the place, tears up both banks, defecates there, and turns the source into a muddy pool contaminated with bacteria. Numerous populations of fish, amphibians, and herbivores dependent on this water then begin to slowly die from biological poisoning. Its snout, made of hardened cartilage, functions like miniature plows. It overturns the topsoil beneath the forest floor in search of roots and fungi, and also devours the eggs of ground-nesting birds like the rhea or partridge. Remarkably, the latest scientific research has uncovered a shocking truth. The soil-turning activity by wild pigs on a global scale releases carbon stored in the earth into the atmosphere. It is estimated that wild pigs produce an amount of carbon emissions annually equivalent to 1,100,000 cars running continuously. Their presence directly exacerbates climate change. But the most dangerous time bomb carried by this creature is not visible to the naked eye. The Jabaporco is a deadly link connecting the wild jungle to the modern livestock industry. At night, it roams the forest, and during the day, it breaks down fences and invades the feeding troughs of cattle and pig farms. This movement makes it a mobile reservoir for numerous zoonotic pathogens, such as rabies, flesh-eating bacteria, tuberculosis, and leptospirosis. The true nightmare looming over Brazil's economy has names: classical swine fever, African swine fever, and foot and mouth disease. Brazil spent decades and billions of dollars eradicating these diseases to gain its safe meat export certification. It takes only one single Jabaporco infected with the foot and mouth virus to slip into a livestock farm, and the entire national food supply chain will be destroyed. Trading partners worldwide will immediately close their borders, millions will lose their jobs, and a multi-billion-dollar industry will collapse overnight. This biological monster threatens not only biodiversity, it threatens national security. Faced with an escalation that was beyond control, in the year 2013, the Brazilian government was forced to make a historic concession. Poaching is a serious crime in this country and can lead to federal imprisonment, but a single exception was signed: permission to hunt and destroy the Jabaporco indefinitely. A network of controllers was established. They do not hunt for pleasure. They are firefighters in a biological war. However, administrative barriers and the complexity of land ownership laws always make the pursuit a late affair. Hunters are bound by hunting permits, while the hybrid pigs respect no one's borders or property titles. Will humanity be able to defeat and eradicate the Jabaporco from the South American continent? The consensus of the entire scientific community today boils down to one word: no. Millions of individuals are already dispersed throughout the vegetation. Their complete eradication is now considered impossible from both a mathematical and a biological standpoint. All humanity can do at this point is maintain constant hunting pressure, attempting to reduce herd numbers to keep the damage within acceptable levels, allowing the ecosystem and agriculture a slight respite. The story of the Jabaporco monster is a bloody warning about humanity's large-scale interference with ecosystems. Did we ever imagine that we could move wild animals across oceans as if they were pieces on a physical board? We ignored the complexity of genetics, underestimated pathogens, and disdained nature's ability to adapt. And now, a perfect biological machine, manufactured by man himself, lurks at the edge of the forest, its cold eyes watching us in the dark, ready to destroy all human efforts for survival. Nature has never lost. It merely collects its ecological debt at a ruthless price. What are your thoughts on this biological error of humanity? Do you believe we will continue to create other monsters in the future? Leave your opinion in the comments. Every year, over 6 billion shrimp are consumed globally, making them one of the most sought-after seafood. They are not only a frequent food item, but also form a market worth tens of billions of dollars. From vessels fishing in the open sea to coastal farms and large-scale processing plants, everything is connected in a massive supply chain. We embark on a thrilling journey behind every shrimp that lands on your table. The vessel pitches violently under the assault of waves that crash against its hull, time and time again. A fisherman, gripping a rope tightly, carefully scales a metal structure to fix a tangled net. A single wrong move could drag him into the ocean depths at any moment. Nevertheless, he continues his work with determination, because if the net is not secured properly, the entire shrimp catch could be swept away by the current. This is just one fleeting moment in the succession of long and risky events that accompany every marine shrimp. Today, global shrimp production exceeds approximately 13 million tons per year, with a commercial value estimated at over $80 billion. Of this volume, about 3.5 trillion tons are harvested through wild fishing, accounting for just over a quarter of the total global supply. A widely used technique for harvesting marine shrimp is the bottom trawl. The vessel moves slowly, typically at a speed of 3 to 4 kilometers per hour, which is enough to tow a giant net that glides along the seabed as it is deployed. Shrimp aggregations in its path stand little chance of escape. Despite its apparent simplicity, this work requires intense concentration. Fishermen must constantly adjust the depth, direction, and speed to ensure the net's efficiency. A small mistake can significantly reduce the catch or even disrupt the entire operation. After several hours of continuous trawling, the net retrieval process begins. Taut ropes are pulled up one by one, then the open mouth of the net gradually appears at the surface, and finally, a full and heavy bag emerges. However, shrimp are not the only things caught in the net. The bottom trawl also captures small fish, crabs, starfish, and even marine debris, mixing everything into one heap. Therefore, the next stage becomes labor-intensive. Fishermen have to manually sort the catch directly on deck in challenging weather conditions. On intensely sunny days, the heat makes the work grueling, and during rain or wind, the slippery deck increases the risk of accidents. After separating the shrimp, they are quickly washed with clean seawater to remove sand and impurities. High-quality specimens are drained and immediately moved to refrigerated compartments with crushed ice or cold seawater. In the warm and humid marine environment, processing speed is crucial. A delay of just 60 to 90 minutes can significantly degrade quality, reducing its commercial value. Otherwise, with proper cooling and stable temperature maintenance, shrimp can retain their freshness for 3 to 5 days. This is enough time to reach port and proceed to subsequent processing stages. If the bottom trawl acts like a large-scale vacuum cleaner, the purse seine method is more selective. When the navigation system or experience allows for the detection of an area with a high concentration of shrimp, the vessel immediately accelerates, circles, and deploys the net, encircling the area. Fishermen then pull the bottom edge of the net, closing the entire structure like a giant bag. The ends are held by support vessels that slowly converge, tightening the internal space. Once the purse seine is fully closed, the shrimp have virtually no chance of escape. At the opportune moment, the entire system is lifted. Each batch of shrimp is lifted out of the water and transported to the hold within minutes. The process appears clean and efficient at first glance, but to achieve such results, fishermen typically work 16 to 20 hours a day. In the open sea, every hour incurs costs for fuel, supplies, and weather-related risks. Therefore, they must maximize their time and coordinate their actions precisely to not miss any opportunities. The pressure is immense, but it is an inevitable part of open sea fishing. However, when the full net is lifted onto the deck, laughter, jokes, and cheers can be heard. For them, each trip is not just work, but a way of life, where every catch carries the hope of earning a living, supporting their families, and returning to shore with greater stability. If fishing in the open sea is a struggle against waves and uncertainty, then shrimp farming on land is a challenge that requires strict control. Today, more than half of the world's shrimp production comes not from wild fishing, but from modern aquaculture systems. Just the leading producing countries concentrate a portion of the global supply. China, around 2.7 million tons, Ecuador, around 18 million, India, over 11 million, Vietnam, nearly 850,000 tons, and Indonesia, approximately 350,000 tons per year. However, raising shrimp is not as simple as planting seeds and waiting for a harvest. In conditions of high density, shrimp are extremely sensitive to environmental changes and diseases. A small mistake can trigger outbreaks that spread rapidly, leading to losses of 40 to 70%, or even complete production failure. The process begins in hatcheries, where larvae develop in tanks under strictly controlled conditions of water, temperature, and nutrition. This stage lasts for 20 to 28 days, ensuring stable growth before transfer to grow-out ponds. Once they reach the desired size, they are released into larger ponds, starting a grow-out cycle that lasts 90 to 120 days. Throughout this entire period, every factor must be carefully monitored. Feeding is adjusted based on calculations considering growth rates. Aeration and water circulation systems operate almost continuously to maintain adequate dissolved oxygen levels. Furthermore, parameters such as salinity, acidity, pH, and temperature are regularly monitored to ensure a stable environment for shrimp cultivation. Even a slight deviation can trigger a chain reaction directly impacting productivity and final quality. Every day in the grow-out ponds is meticulously calculated. If all factors remain stable, after a few months, the shrimp reach market size and move to the harvesting phase. Typically, a farm conducts 1 to 2 harvests per year, but in warmer regions, this cycle can be extended to 3 due to favorable conditions year-round. However, aquaculture harvesting is not as simple as pulling nets in the sea. Producers slowly drain some of the pond water to direct the shrimp towards the drainage area. At this point, they use bag-like nets or specialized tools to gently capture them, minimizing rough handling. This process requires extreme delicacy, as rough handling can damage the shell or spoil the meat quality. In addition, sudden temperature changes can cause stress to the shrimp. Immediately after harvesting, they are placed in containers with ice or ice water for rapid temperature reduction. Transportation time to the processing plant is minimized to preserve freshness. There, shrimp pass through modern washing systems, where cold water jets under pressure continuously clean the surface, removing silt and impurities. For cooked products, shrimp are placed in steam chambers at approximately 100 degrees Celsius for a few minutes. This process allows the meat to firm up, retain its natural flavor, and meet food safety standards. On the other hand, shrimp destined for freezing go through automated size sorting lines, preparing them for subsequent processing and packaging stages before market distribution. Shrimp of uniform size continue along a self-contained production line, where each stage is standardized to ensure the quality of the final product. Next is a crucial step: head removal, shell peeling, and vein extraction. The head is detached using specialized high-precision equipment, and then the shrimp enter automated peeling systems. At this stage, rotating drums combined with soft brushes and pressurized water jets can process between 2,500 and 3,500 pieces per minute, significantly speeding up production. However, not everything can be left to machines. In many facilities, workers still manually peel shrimp and remove the vein to ensure cleanliness and good appearance. This is meticulous work requiring great precision, performed in low-temperature conditions to maintain freshness. In some factories, the workday can last from 10 to 13 hours daily in sub-10 degrees Celsius cold. Immediately after processing, shrimp pass through a quick freezing system for 3 to 5 minutes to stabilize meat texture and limit bacterial growth. Then, they are transported via vibrating conveyors that separate each individual and prevent them from sticking together along the line. Quality control personnel meticulously inspect each unit. Those that do not meet standards for size, color, or shape are immediately rejected. Only those that meet requirements proceed to the final stage. In the packaging process, shrimp are weighed and placed into containers according to specifications. For frozen products, a thin layer of ice is applied to the surface, which protects the product and maintains a stable temperature between -12 and -18 degrees Celsius, reducing dehydration and freezer burn. While small shrimp are typically caught in large nets, the case of lobsters is a slower process, but with a much higher level of risk. In cold seas like the Bering Sea, natural conditions are always extreme and unpredictable. Even during seasons of heavy swells, fishermen have to continue their work to not miss the very short fishing season. Specialized traps, usually wooden or metal, covered with netting, are used to catch lobsters. Bait, typically pieces of fish or salted fish, is placed inside and securely fastened so that the scent spreads underwater for a longer time. These traps are lowered to the seabed and marked with floating buoys on the surface. After they are set, fishermen have to wait for 48 to 72 hours. When they return to retrieve them, the work becomes much harder than it appears. Each trap is lifted by a winch, loaded with water and, sometimes, lobsters. Fishermen quickly open them and inspect each specimen to ensure its size and condition. Only those that meet requirements are kept, while smaller ones are returned to the sea to continue growing. This process is repeated dozens, if not hundreds of times daily, setting traps, waiting, sorting, and setting again. It is a job requiring physical strength, concentration, and endurance in extreme conditions with very little time for rest. Nevertheless, the high economic value of lobsters makes all the effort worthwhile. From industrial aquaculture to open sea fishing, each method carries its own challenges and values in the shrimp production process. Although they differ in their approach, they all contribute to the global supply that we enjoy every day. What are your thoughts? Do you find industrial farming or natural harvesting more impressive? Leave your comment and share your opinion.